You better be. If he's not one of those guys,
he's it?
What else are you going to do? Urban Meyer be all right with me, but
I don't think Urban's going that direction.
I don't either.
I mean,
and I think the Browns would have a hard time selling it. I mean, it's Urban Meyer, so you don't have a hard time selling it.
The other guy to keep your eye on, too, is Eric Bieniemy.
Yes. Good morning. It is a Wednesday edition of the Spielman and Hooley We Tackle Life podcast.
Kevin Stefanski.
I'm Bruce Hooley. He's Chris Spielman. That's my question right out of the top with Mike McCarthy, now the Dallas Cowboys head coach, not interested in the Browns. You think the Browns are waiting on Kevin Stefanski?
I think
he's on their initial list.
They're going to interview guys, and I know Kevin's interviewing on Thursday. Josh is interviewing on Friday. I think they'll make up their mind over the weekend, but I doubt that they will hire a guy if a team is still playing. I mean, they might have a deal set in place, but I don't think there'll be an announcement if a team is still playing. And one interesting thing about Kevin Stefanski, if they hire Kevin Stefanski,
OC Minnesota Vikings.
You know who could come back and be the OC? Think of the connection. Exactly. That'd be Pat Shurmur, ladies and gentlemen, because of their relationship. Wouldn't that be great?
Okay, in my fantasy life, I am the director of dysfunction prevention for the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
You can relay this to your acquaintance or friend or whatever, Kevin Stefanski, through your brother Rick. Don't do that, Kevin.
Well, first
Stefanski.
of all,
don't do that. Don't do that. Don't bring Pat Shurmur back because
he's not
that's
the
why.
Head coach. He's the offensive.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No.
Why doesn't it matter?
Because when Joe Banner came back, he brought back Mike Lombardi, and people were like, They hated it from the beginning.
Who cares?
Do you put any value on winning a press conference? Any value?
No.
Any?
Zero.
Okay, I do. I put a little bit with the Browns fans who, hey, let me fresh from memory.
All right.
Calendar of dysfunction.
Let me ask
Does
you a
any
question.
fan base hold on to past dysfunction like a pit bull holds on to a chew toy better than the Cleveland
That's
Browns?
why I don't put any value on winning a press conference with Cleveland Browns fans, because a mute could win a press conference with Cleveland Browns fans.
I'm going to put that today in a Twitter poll, and Friday when we do this, I'm going to say, as Browns fans, if the choice is Kevin Stefanski, do you want him to hire Pat Shurmur as your offensive coordinator, yes or no? And I'm going to make a guess. It'll be 80% no.
So Marv Levy said when you start listening to fans, you start sitting with the fans.
That's true.
So you'll be sitting with the fans because, contrary to popular belief, Kevin Stefanski will not make an emotional hire. You're talking about making an emotional hire.
Yes.
I'm talking about making a logical hire, and a hire that the guy has proven over and over and over, whether it's been with the Rams, whether it's been with the Eagles under Andy Reid, whether it was the 2017 team where his offense, led by Case Keenum, went to the NFC Championship game. The guy can coach offense. He might not be a successful head coach. I'm not asking him to be a head coach. I'm asking him to build an offense, which he's proven to do over and over and over.
Let's attack it from a football perspective, okay?
Beautiful.
Comes to Cleveland, the number one job of the Browns franchise and of the new head coach is to get the most out of Baker Mayfield. Do you agree? He is their number one asset.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Pat Shurmur with the Rams, I will admit, did a very good job. His quarterback is Sam Bradford. Would you agree with me that Sam Bradford, personality-wise, is nothing like Baker Mayfield?
I agree with you on that.
Okay, on the Eagles, refresh my memory, his quarterback was?
Sam Bradford.
Okay. And with the Rams, his quarterback was Bradford.
Uh-huh.
So I'm trying to think, has he dealt with, let's just cut to the chase of my question, has he dealt with a strong personality quarterback, a bullheaded, wrong-headed, I will say. I'm not defending Baker Mayfield. I'm just saying his personality is his personality. Do you find that fit of personalities? Pat Shurmur, who's low-key, I don't know how he is in the room. But he comes across publicly as dopey say. That's how he comes across.
Well, to you, he does. He comes across.
To everyone.
No, not to me. He comes across as a straight football guy that's not interested in everything else outside of him, but football.
I only played one
It's
Shermer.
one.
I have.
I don't
20.
care about the press conferences. I don't care how he
Let's
answers
see if I can
questions.
find all.
What? But let
They're
me ask you a
gold.
question. No,
Yes.
seriously, why?
Yes.
What, are we going to hire a guy that's clever in how he answers questions in a press conference? How smart he is in answering a press conference? And by the way, if we're going to have a newsletter, have the courtesy to spell my name right.
What? I get your name wrong? Where? Oh, that's just in the header. That's not. That's
okay. Well,
sorry about that.
I just happened to.
Yeah, I see that too.
I'm just interested in details.
That's my fingers. I got back in that old 1460 the fan angry email mode, and my fingers got ahead of me.
Because
I do know how to spell your name. See, trust me, I do know how to spell it. It's spelled right in the book. Thanks, you editors.
Apparently I've just promoted myself to editor of the Spielman and Hooley podcast.
I think that's a good role for you. I think it's a good role for you.
So I guess this. Look, I get people. They make emotional decisions. I'm purely talking from a practical point of view, where Kevin Stefanski and Pat Shermer think alike. You want to have that type of relationship with your head coach. A head coach has to trust an offensive coordinator and run something that he believes in. So my theory is not based off of emotion or what people are going to think. My theory is what's going to give me the best chance to succeed. For example, if I had the opportunity to be a head coach right now, that would be the first guy that I would go to,
Pat,
to run my offense.
Really? Okay.
Yes, because I know how good he is. I know how well respected he is around the league. Maybe not as a head coach, because as head coach, he's clearly failed. He's won 7-29 or 6-29 as a head coach.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, that's his record. His record is that. As an offensive coordinator, he gets a lot out of the people that play, and his offense is physical, his offense is run the ball, and his quarterbacks play well. I mean, he took a rookie quarterback and Daniel Jones out of Duke this year, replaced Eli Manning.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones had a record-breaking rookie year. I mean, people don't, because the defense was so bad and Saquon was hurt, they don't understand, they don't look at the numbers outside of New York of what Daniel Jones was able to do this year.
It does feel to me like the stars are lining up, though, for Josh McDaniels to the Browns, because Mike McCarthy went to the Cowboys, because Ron Rivera went to the Redskins. The Giants made a surprising hire yesterday. They did the stealth bomber hire of that guy,
Joe Judge,
the special teams or wide receiver guy with the.
He had the wide receiver coaching title, but his main goal was special teams. He got the job based on one thing only, is that Bill Belichick called the Giants, said, "This is your guy."
Wow. There's
a great relationship with Bill Belichick, and they have the Giants family, the Mara family has a fondness for Bill Belichick. He calls and says, "Look, I hate to let him go, but this is a guy that needs to go." If he did not get this job, he was going to take the head coaching job down at Mississippi State.
Okay.
That job came open.
Okay, yeah.
So then we come to this theory. Special teams coaches, can they be head coaches? Let's just go down to Baltimore and take a look at the success
he's doing okay.
of John Harbaugh. And before John Harbaugh got the job, Andy Reid in Philly made John Harbaugh for 1 year, along with his special teams duties and coordinator, made him a defensive back coach, just to say that he had a position. Special teams guys assess every position on a team. Special teams coaches are often the ones that head coaches most consult during a game. They're used to handling every player on the team. They evaluate every player on the team. And so I don't know Joe Judge. I don't know a lot of his work. I don't follow the New England special teams. I do think, though, that if Bill Belichick is making an endorsement, and I think one that he wasn't asked to make, but called on his own behalf, and because of his feelings for the Giants and the Mara family, I think Joe Judge got that opportunity because of Bill Belichick. Now, he's not the Giants' first choice. The Giants' first choice was Matt Rule. Matt Rule got $7 million a year or something like that.
I think it's actually more than 8.
Yeah,
I did the math last night when I saw it on the crawl. It looks to me like it's right at 8.
Yeah. So it's
Carolina Panthers. Yeah.
The guy's a billionaire and he wants $8 million. Matt Rule,
which, by the way, I've been told that's what he was making at Baylor. Same money.
Can't hide money. You can't hide oil money. That's for sure.
I'm anxious to watch him work because he must be a rock star, given how much people want him. And I will say this: I've seldom dealt with a coach who gets as rave reviews from acquaintances of mine who know Matt Rule, and from guys who covered him as a player in college and as an assistant coach. And very seldom are guys popular with the people in their profession and the people who are in the media world. And he is. And I'll say I saw him yesterday outside what it looked like outside his house in Waco, talking to the reporters about leaving Baylor. And I love the fact that he didn't hide, that he just came out and he said, yeah, I texted my players. I told them I was going to interview. I told them why I was leaving.
He held a meeting.
Yeah.
A personal meeting with the players, not just a text.
Yeah, I like how he does that. You know, I just thought the way he owned it and said, yeah, I feel bad. It's just opportunity of a lifetime. Nobody should feel bad for a guy taking a job that's a dream job.
I covered Matt one time in college. I sat with him in a meeting. I actually spoke to him. It was interesting. It was the Temple-Houston game where Greg Ward was the quarterback, Tom Herman.
Mm-hmm.
It was that championship game. And for whatever reason, we were waiting to leave outside, and we were delayed. And we were parked by the Temple buses. And Matt came out, and he came up to me. And first time this ever happened to me, what'd you think? What do we need to get better?
He's the head coach at Temple.
Yeah, he's the head coach at Temple. And I was just, like, humbled, first of all, that the guy actually cared to what I actually thought, which was, it was humbling for me and very cool. And I gave him some thoughts. And I talked to him before the game. I really, like everybody else, you come away impressed with his presence, I guess.
Yeah, charisma.
There's
engagement.
Something. When I talk to coaches, sometimes you talk to coaches and you walk out of that room and you say, this guy gets it. Mm-hmm. There's other times when you talk to coaches where this guy is so full of it that, I remember I started, we do these calls or meetings, as you know, Bruce, maybe the listeners don't know, every single week. Mm-hmm. And I'll ask one question, and depending on the answer, I'll shut it down because and I've actually said, look, coach, in all due respect, I'm not going to waste your time, and you're not going to waste my time. So good luck on Sunday. We'll see you.
I assume that is because you can tell whether they're truly engaged in the endeavor you're engaged in at the moment. Well, whether they're just blowing you off or they're going to give you coach speak or they're not into it.
Yeah, it's more like, look, I don't want to waste it. Really, I think it's a courtesy from me to them not to waste your time.
Yeah.
It's that simple. But it rarely happens in the NFL. It rarely happens in the NFL because these guys really respect the job that we're trying to do.
Fair to say they're not as paranoid as college coaches?
Oh my gosh. Yes, because I don't even know what there is to be paranoid because I don't have any more access to anything.
Oh, you're Rick Spielman's brother,
Well, I'm going to go back into that because I think it's important to know. But that was a different issue. But to me, I can tell, though, even if Shannon starts asking a question or Brenneman starts asking a question, I can tell how this guy answers if he's genuine. Like Doug Peterson is as upfront and as honest head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, by the way, who wasn't the Eagles' first choice, by the way. And look what he did.
That's right.
So there's hope for Browns fans. But most of these guys are as genuine as they get, man, and as honest. Look, guy's not playing well. He's struggling. This guy's playing well. The other thing a lot of it depends on you and I, though, the guy that asking the questions. Like the one thing I asked Doug Peterson, tell me about Mike Groh, his offensive coordinator, because you know the story of the Eagles this year, decimated.
Nobody's healthy.
I mean, they're playing with guys that were signed off the street, and they make the playoffs and go on a 3-game winning streak at the end of the season to win a division, and it was Doug Peterson and Mike Groh and that whole staff, to me, was just amazing. And so he went into details about how they were drawing up plays and switching the offense and what an asset Mike Groh was. And Mike Groh in Philadelphia is like most wanted poster because the offense was struggling at times. So not blaming that Super Bowl winning head coach on it, they're blaming Mike Groh. And so it was a chance for Doug Peterson to say what an asset Mike
and I'm sure he appreciated that.
Yeah, so that's how you ask questions. But that's another thing. Jim Schwartz is going to be interviewing for the
defensive
Cleveland
coordinator
Browns.
of Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Eagles.
and Jim Schwartz actually did a decent job. I thought they let go of him just a tad early in Detroit.
Mhm.
Remember, he was the one that took over the 0-16 team.
Marty Morningwood.
Yeah. No, I thought it was Rod Marinelli.
Was it Rod Marinelli? Okay.
But, you know.
No, I thought it was Marty.
Okay.
But you're the Lions guy. I'm not contending that I'm right.
Just ask the Lions.
Right.
I'm on the payroll, you know.
Oh, yes, I've heard. All the Lions fans on
The
Twitter.
only thing with Jim, to me, is what really not upset me, just like frustrates me, is that, did you watch the Seahawks-Eagles game? Or if you didn't see it, you didn't see it.
I did watch some of it.
Did you see the highlights at all? Did you see the last play on 3rd and long or 4th and long or 3rd and long?
You mean the play where McCown
No, I'm talking about Russell Wilson. It's 3rd and long.
Jim
Schwartz
threw it
put
up.
Marcus Epps,
DJ
who's a
Metcalf,
a backup safety, one-on-one
in the slot
with DK Metcalf. Why would you put your guy in that position?
Well, is that offensive scheme? They put Metcalf where the Eagles
It doesn't matter. He
him.
had zero coverage. You could still understand. They've gone to Metcalf the whole game.
Yeah.
Why would you put a guy that's a safety that's not played a lot
on
the guy that they've gone to the whole game with no help?
He had zero coverage, literally and figuratively.
Yes, so I guess
man to man, no help.
But Schwartz is an interesting guy. I like him. Some people would say that he's cocky and arrogant. I say that he's confident, and I like the guy. And it would be he'd be a treat in press conference.
He would be. Yes, I'm all for him.
He's very honest in press
all
conferences.
For him. He's almost Jim
But
Moore.
he will tell you when you're wrong or that you don't know anything.
Yes.
So,
I welcome that.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's another guy to keep your eye. Yeah.
I interrupted you in the open. You were going to say something about Eric Bieniemy. How well thought of Eric Bieniemy, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, former great Colorado running back is among NFL coaches.
And I've actually talked to Eric, and I did a game in Kansas City, and he's one of those guys that you walk away from, wow, that guy gets it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Eric interviewed for jobs last year. Actually went to some type of training to interview for jobs again this year. It's just a matter of time before he gets a head coaching position, and you can't argue with the success of Andy Reid as a head coach, correct?
True, yes.
And Andy Reid, I don't think wants to give up guys that he loves having on his staff. But he has a ringing endorsement for Eric Bieniemy, and I don't know if he's going to get the Browns job. That's the only one left. But we'll see if that comes. And I just, there's so much competition. The other thing is, hopefully the Browns will make a decision, because what's getting eaten up right now is assistant coaches. Like Matt Rule's going to get his top assistant coaches. Jim Tomasula, the former head coach of the San Francisco 49ers.
One and done.
One and done. Not a great head coach, right?
Good defensive line.
But is considered one of the best
from
the defensive line coach. So there you go.
Make sure you register, because next Monday we're going to pull the winner of the year's couples membership to Premier at Sawmill Athletic Club. So you can enter at SpielmanandHooley.com. The entry is easy to navigate right there. We'll draw it, and you and your wife or your husband will be treated to the best health club, fitness facility in Central Ohio. It's right on Bethel Road, between the river and Sawmill Road. Easy to get to. How about this? They furnish 2 hours free childcare every time you go, so it's great for moms who want to get in shape and get a little time away from the kids. And they have great childcare with all kinds of video games, and they engage with the young ones. So Premier at Sawmill Athletic Club, we thank Jim Miller and Regan Koivistu for making that available to us. Really good guys, really good club. Look at it. If you don't win it, for your family. And yes, you can add your kids on as family members, but this is over $1,000 value. Indoor pool, outdoor pool, great place to hang in the summertime. All the fitness classes, all the latest equipment. Premier at Sawmill Athletic Club, and enter at SpielmanandHooley.com. All right, it does feel to me like this Josh McDaniels thing, that it felt to me like the Browns wanted him all along. And it seems like it's stacking up. And really, for me, the guy, Joe Judge, going to the Giants, that to me was like almost confirmation that McDaniels is going to end up in Cleveland, because there were conspiracy theories out there that if Bob Kraft forced Belichick to take Brady back, that Belichick might leave. And Belichick to the Giants would make sense, but obviously if Belichick is calling the Giants, telling them who to hire, he's not thinking about leaving New England, and Belichick would not be caught off guard by anything that happens with the New England Patriots. So doesn't it feel to you like this is as they say, a fait accompli?
I think Kevin Stefanski was the runner-up.
Last time. He was Deep Podesta's guy. He was the analytics guy's guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I think he has a really good shot. So
Okay.
I think it's coming down to those two guys, in my opinion.
Very good.
And Josh kind of fits. I think Josh is the cool story, right? Coming from Canton. I mean, you want
cooler story is Rick Spielman coming from Massillon, in my opinion. I'm in the story business, and that's a much cooler story to me.
I think the Vikings getting. I mean, Rick and Zimmer. Last week, the whole week. I'm reading how Rick and Zimmer are getting fired if they don't beat the Saints. So I think both those guys will get a contract extension. Just amazing how important it is just to get wins in the playoff. I mean, because you only walk away one
crazy. I mean, does it not mean anything to anybody when people talk about the Vikings having the most talented roster in the league? I mean, it means something to me that it wouldn't let the guy who oversees all the personnel decisions go. All right, we are a week from today going to be talking about the national championship game on Monday night. It's been feels like a long time since Ohio State played Clemson and LSU played Oklahoma. Your early thoughts on what stacks up as a high-scoring battle, I would say.
I think so. I think Joe Burrow, it's amazing the turn that I've made on him. I was lukewarm.
And myself as well, yes.
Well, I mean, I was lukewarm on Joe at the start of the year. I thought he played good last year. Didn't think he played great.
I think he'd agree with that.
But just watching him and just looking at his numbers week after week after week, then watching him in the big moments and him rising to those big moments, I think he's tough to beat. And he's on such a roll right now and how he's playing and where he's putting the ball. I read a statistic because, believe it or not, I am a little bit of an analytics guy, a lot of analytics guy, to be honest with you, on what certain things are important and what's not important. I was reading a stat on Pro Football Focus about Joe Burrow. They have a college section. I don't know if you've ever read it or looked at it, but I think Joe was the most accurate on contested throws in college football, meaning he's fitting it best into tight windows. By the way, which is a great sign, because you and I think are in agreement on what the number one physical attribute for a quarterback is accuracy.
Accuracy. In the NFL it is.
And throwing guys open. And Joe led the country in that by a long shot because, let's face it, I would think you agree with me on Justin Fields, a lot of his passes, he made some great throws, don't get me wrong.
He did.
But a lot of times the guys were so superior athletically that they made either great catches or they were so wide open, right?
No doubt.
And so I think that favors LSU. I am not on the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon like everybody else.
Okay.
I think he's really, because I just think the turnovers, when he threw that many, now seems to have it fixed, but that shows me that he has the potential to play against another really good athletic team like LSU. LSU is just as athletic as Ohio State, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think Joe's going to outplay Trevor Lawrence. So right now, I am going to give the edge to LSU in my mind, but that could change because the one thing I know is that Dabo Swinney, whatever anybody wants to say about him, wins games.
Why can people say something bad about Dabo?
You can't say anything bad about
What would you say bad about Dabo? You don't
I don't
like
know.
his folksy ways?
I mean...
he's not the only coach in the world to play up the us against the world thing.
No, I mean...
Ryan Day did that too.
Yeah, I know. I get that. Yeah. I get it. I like Dabo. I like Dabo a lot. The thing I guess I phrased it wrong. The thing that never gets talked about with Dabo Swinney, or at least I don't pay great attention to college football anymore, but the thing that impresses me most, how's that? The thing that impresses me most about Dabo Swinney is that his teams rise to the occasion for big games, and he has them ready to play, and he has them playing at their best when it means the most. And that's why Clemson is a team that it's going to be tough to beat in a national championship game. So I still like LSU, and the other thing I hang my hat on is, and I said this before Clemson played Ohio State, champions die hard, man. You better cut off the head or they're going to keep coming.
I look at Dabo, and I just think it's remarkable, much in the way that I used to talk about Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin, to take a school and build them into something they never were. And I know Clemson won a title in like 81 or something, but there's a reason why the term Clemsoning was a derisive term. It was you're a choking, they're going to choke.
They almost had a Clemsoning against North Carolina this year.
They almost did. They had one against Pitt a few years ago. But at the time where the Alabama monster was its fiercest, he's built Clemson into the big dog in college football. Now, he's won 2 titles, and Bama's won 2 in the playoff era, and had Ohio State won this year. Ohio State would have had 2, so you could say they're all on equal footing. Clemson feels to me like they've just gotten a notch above Alabama, and they've beaten Ohio State 3 times in the last 5 years, 6 years, so it's hard to say they're not a bit above, and it's just a bit, but it's a bit above Ohio State. And yes, I acknowledge Ohio State, looked like the better team that night. They didn't win the game, which goes to your point of champions die hard. Let me say this in defense of the right-handed Ronnie Bass, Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine from Remember the Titans. He has not thrown an interception in his last 7 games.
Correct.
Clemson quarterbacks throw a lot of interceptions because they believe in putting the ball up there and letting their receivers go make a play on it. I remember writing about when Ohio State played Clemson in the 2016 playoffs. Boy, Deshaun Watson throws a lot of interceptions. And while that game ended 31-0 Clemson, he threw 2 early in that game.
Yeah.
So he throws it up. They throw it up, and they let, in this case, T. Higgins and Justin Ross go make plays on it. So I think they're not afraid to challenge. There were some throws against Ohio State that night where I thought, what is he doing? That's going to get picked. So that's just kind of what they do. Yeah.
He's a really, really good athlete.
I think I have one thing in Clemson's favor, and I have one thing in LSU's favor.
What's that?
In LSU's favor, I have that I don't think Clemson's defense is very good up front. And I think
I agree with you on that.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire could have a big night.
Who's the running back from LSU that I love? I don't even know his name.
The little guy.
Yeah,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Does he run angry or what?
He runs angry.
He's so good.
He reminds me of Josh Jacobs from Alabama.
Yes.
And the thing I have in Clemson's favor is there's a lot to be said for having been through this format of preparing your team for a playoff game. This is their 4th. This is their 5th in a row, but it's their 4th time getting to the championship game. All this is new for Orgeron and all his guys. It's all new for them.
I agree with that, Bruce.
And so I think there's an edge for both. It's great to have the better players and the better athletes, but they only do what the coaches tell them to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why it's going to be hopefully a great game.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I can't see why we won't have a great game because you have really good players on both sides and athletes. We kind of knew that Oklahoma had no shot against LSU. It was everybody. I want Oklahoma. No, I want Oklahoma. No, I want Oklahoma, because they knew that was a ticket. So that's another thing that LSU is going to have to get used to, because they just so dominated Oklahoma up front on both sides of the ball. Even though Clemson's defensive line isn't as good as it could be, they're much better than Oklahoma's front 7.
Much better.
Linebackers and all that. So, and don't underestimate Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator. He is tremendous at game planning, and he's very aggressive. So he's going to not be afraid to come after Joe Burrow. And so it's going to be a great game.
That's risky.
And I want, I'm kind of rooting for LSU because, like every other Ohioan, I think we want Joe Burrow to cap this magical year that he's had, which is